Another type of sacred element is the MacGuffin, right? The MacGuffin is the thing that the story kind of centers around, that everyone is trying to either chase after, is motivated about this thing. So in Man of Steel, it's the Codex, right? That's the object that, creates this entire story and motivates the characters, or at least motivates the villain to do what he does. And then by extension, the hero has to counteract that. The Kryptonite is the MacGuffin in Batman v Superman. The Motherboxes are the MacGuffin in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And so each of these things, the MacGuffin is actually the promise of immortality. That's why it's the thing that's sought after, because it promises power, but more importantly, power in the sense of the preservation of one's ego in the form of a literal immortality sometimes, or a symbolic immortality. So in this case, the Codex is tempting Zod to renew Krypton. So he wants to keep Krypton going. He doesn't want Krypton to ever end.
Your father stole the registry's Codex and stored it in the capsule that brought you here.
For what purpose?
So that Krypton can live again on Earth. Where is the Codex, Cal?
And so he needs the Codex to do that. So the Codex is the Philosopher's Stone, the elixir, in Zod's eyes, to have immortality for his people, right? That's the thing that he needs to restart his world. The Kryptonite, again, is a tool of preservation of the world.
And why would we want to weaponize this material?
As a deterrent? A silver bullet to keep in reserve to use against the Kryptonians, so the day does not come, madame, when your children are waving daisies at a reviewing stand.
Right? Batman says Superman can burn the whole place down, and this is the thing that will prevent that from happening.
Jesus, Alfred, count the dead. Thousands of people. What's next? Millions. He has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. And we have to destroy him. But he is not our enemy.
And so instead of working honestly, in realizing that Superman isn't a threat, he's coming at it from a negative place in this more of obsession about preserving his world, right? Leaning too much on that causes this, the negative aspects of trying to be a savior.
20 years of fighting criminals amounts to nothing.
Criminals are like weeds, Alfred. Pull one up, another grows in its place. This is about the future of the world. It's my legacy.
You're trying to save something, you're trying to preserve it, and you're not allowing for the other aspect, which is the natural cosmic order, that things sometimes dissolve, right? That's an important thing. So immortality is a big thing, especially for the Motherbox, right? So we're talking about renewing people's lives. So Superman's brought back to life and all that, right? So the MacGuffin and the promise of immortality is typically connected, right? That's in some sense a symbolic, ego-driven need to live forever instead of accepting the natural order of things, right?
If Krypton lives again, what happens to Earth?
The foundation has to be built on something. Even your father recognized that.
The humbling natural order of things. The Codex is sacred. It's hidden in the womb-like chamber, the Genesis chamber. It's separated from the outer chaotic world. So too is the Kryptonite, right? As when it's first obtained, and even when it's moved around, it's kept in boxes, and there's all this protection around it. It's a sacred object. There's an allure, this sort of divine allure, like this is the thing. If only I had this thing, then all would be right with the world, right? And that false thinking is something that causes all the turmoil and mayhem throughout the movie. The Motherbox, of course, is kept hidden and protected in their respective regions, either in Earth, in the sea, or Themyscira. And so each place is kept protected by guards, because it's these are sacred objects. The main point being, again, that they heal the material, but not the spiritual. And it's the spiritual that we want to align ourselves with. Here we see a picture of Victor Stone being tempted by something that is unnatural, right? So the natural order of things, his parents died. His parents died, right? And he wants to bring them back.
You don't have to be alone anymore. We'll be together again.
We can put it back, Vic. Make you whole again.
Right? So that is like the promise of immortality, right? So it's like, let's just go and stay in the place where things were okay and where nothing bad ever happens, and we can always be in this relationship. We can always just be here, and we can always be stagnant like Krypton. Krypton was a stagnant place. They tried to keep and maintain through force this unnatural structure. It's unnatural to not die ever, right? And so when you're constantly saying, what about the past? Let's stay there. Let's stay there. That's in contradiction to, the spiritual idea.
He will be pleased. He will see my worth again.
And so when he breaks that illusion, he's breaking the boxes apart. He's breaking that, and he's denying the MacGuffin or the promise of immortality from these so-called sacred objects. And what does he see? He sees his new family, right? So he's saying, no, I don't buy into that. I buy into a higher spiritual and humbling sense of the natural cosmic order.
I'm not broken. And I'm not alone.
A lover of fate, right? If you want to think in terms of memento mori, amor fati, where you attach yourself to something that's more transcendent or absolute so that you can actually learn to love what's in front of you. So Victor Stone is tempted or tested by the mother boxes, where he ultimately learns to accept the impermanent nature of reality through the loss of his family and accepting his new family right in front of him, the Justice League, which is behind the illusion. So he's separating, he's tearing off the veil. So this is we'll keep coming back to these ideas, so this won't be the last of it for sure. I'll be repeating this idea a lot. And the last sacred symbol we'll look at in this section is the Superman symbol. It's clearly connected to the idea of hope, right? Jor-El says this is a symbol of hope. Embodied within the hope is the potential of every person to be a force for good. So there's a symbol that represents something ideal, which is something higher, which is something that's sacred, which is hierarchy. It's an ideal. It's something to aspire to. It also conveys a kind of yin-yang quality, which we have discussed before. So the kind of S spiral we see on the coffin, we have a stronger connection between the black and the white, this duality between things, and captured in that S symbol. Lois puts her hand on the Superman symbol and says, this means something. Or in other words, it is sacred, right? So something that is sacred means something. We've also talked about it related to the ritual, the puja ritual of the ceremonial water vessels. So these are sacred water vessels that are used to pour on other sacred objects to cleanse Shiva, or the Shiva Lingam, the phallus of Shiva, or the pillar fire of Shiva. And the reason they pour, one reason I've read is that they pour it because he accepted toxins inside of him to save or protect something else. And so the water is there to ease the sort of pains related to him ingesting this toxic aspect. So again, we have this idea that something sacred is somehow related to toxic.
It's toxic. That's good.
There's this duality necessarily embedded in the nature of the sacred and the holy, which isn't just all good. It's the potential for something that's, detestable, horrible, right? And so you can see in the shape of the water vessels actually what I believe to be the motivating the actual form, because the other Superman symbols, you actually don't see it in this smooth like pattern. It's a little different, and that little difference is perfectly situated with these two specific types of water vessels, right? There's like almost like a feminine one, and there's like a phallic one. And we'll talk about more of what that Superman symbol is. That's not it, but as we get through this chapter, we'll definitely be able to say a lot more about the Superman symbol as a sacred object and what its sacred meaning truly is. So that's pretty much all there is for today. We will look at even more examples of the sacred in the next section, where we focus on the desecration of the sacred and idolatry. This is a very important concept. So we not only have sacred things, we now have to confront the reality of their desecration, their destruction. And we also have to face the reality of people holding false idols sacred, right? So that's idolatry. It's idol worship of something that is actually profane, right? So we'll talk about these things. I'll leave you off there. Thank you for listening. I know it's very thorough. It's very long. So if you've actually listened to the whole thing, great. I'll try to put something in the about me below, where if you want to donate, you can. I appreciate it. But if you also just want to kind of follow along, you're welcome to do so. So thank you. I'll see you guys next time.